back here at KGIL News. It would appear that Bill Smith in Mobile 8-4 has survived the blackout, the temporary power failure we had.
Yes, Howard. Earlier today we did notice that throughout the city of San Fernando, especially along the beautiful mall area, there has been considerable damage to many of the stores. Some of the walls have caved in. Many have lost large plate glass windows. And some of these older buildings in the San Fernando area have had structural damage along the tops, where the tops and the roofs have broken off and fallen down into the sidewalks. So it is definitely not a happy situation in the San Fernando Mall area. There are many San Fernando and LAPD police officers in this area. Of course, they're guarding against potential looters, or there have been looters reported throughout the damaged areas. Of course, KGIL listeners themselves are not looters, but if we have listeners, people tune to us now who might have that in the back of their minds. As we've said before and we'll say again, it's not a good idea. Not only is it no way to behave in the midst of a tragedy, but that color TV or that large couch or refrigerator that you might try to get away with could just end up costing you a bullet. And that's a pretty high price to pay. Bill Smith in the city of San Fernando, Mobile 8-4 clear.
There's a young man in the studio who has a problem. It seems that his parents took off from the evacuation area, and he's here and they're somewhere else. What's your name, son?
Dennis Graham.
Dennis Graham. And where do you live?
9758 Monogram.
In what city, what community is that?
Sepulveda.
Sepulveda. And where do you think your parents might be now?
In Simi Valley.
On their way or there now, would you say?
There now.
Well, if they're listening, or if anyone knows where they are, you can say that Dennis is safe and sound here at KGIL, and you can pick him up here. That's Dennis Graham. His parents are in Simi Valley. They took off, and he's here. Dennis, you hang tight. Everything will be all right, okay?
It's 74 degrees at KGIL News. Let's go right to the skies and find out what's going on from a bird's eye view or the colonel's eye view. It's Bruce Payne flying KGIL's Valley Skywatch.
For the most part, we have no problems on the freeways. Most traffic is lighter than normal, except on the San Diego Freeway. That's heavier than usual from Mulholland down to the Ventura Freeway because of the closure of the San Diego Freeway northbound all the way up to Newhall Pass.
Dick Spangler in Mobile 8-3. Dick?
Howard, I'm at the Odyssey restaurant overlooking the Van Norman Lakes. This is where the earthen dam is still steeped and seeped with mud. Although the situation seems to be static, it remains stable at the moment. I'm talking to Inspector Dan Jelly of the Los Angeles City Fire Department. Are there any serious problems in the San Fernando Valley tonight? I understand you have many water and power breakdowns around the area.
This is correct. A lot of the area will be without power, it'll be without water, and it'll also be without gas.
Other things went on around the world as Southern California struggled through the results of a severe earthquake. The Apollo 14 astronauts splashed down on target in the South Pacific this afternoon, ending man's boldest and most scientifically rewarding moon mission. And we've just been informed that Bill Smith in Mobile 8-4 is out there again, ready for another report. What's going on, Bill?
Howard, the power failure which put KGIL off the air for a while is still in effect in the San Fernando and Sylmar area. And of course what that means primarily to our listeners who are driving is that the traffic signals in this area are out. So if you're in the San Fernando or Sylmar area, be very careful. Now I noticed that there are LAPD officers attempting to direct traffic at most of these major intersections where the traffic signals are out. However, this is one of those times when the dark blue uniforms of the police officers are a bit of a problem. They're very hard to see. The officers have flashlights, so we urge people driving in San Fernando and Sylmar to be very careful as they enter such areas as the major intersections which have no lights. Watch out for the police officers. They have flashlights. They're standing in the middle, but those dark uniforms are hard to see, so be very careful.
Dick Spangler is out there in the field in Mobile 8-3, ready with another report. Dick?
Thank you very much, Howard. I'm talking to Division Commander Bob Radke, and he's about ready to call it a day after a long, hard day with the Los Angeles City Fire Department. Bob, what kind of a day has it been for you?
Well, it's been a rough day for all of us. We're still in a standby status. We're still watching the face and back of this dam carefully. We are going to stand by all night long. We will have a helicopter unit with lights on the scene. We have our command post in operation. As the day has worn on, the situation has looked better and better. I cannot speak for the power department or the water department, but from a fire standpoint, it looks real good at this time.
A spokesman for the Los Angeles City School District says all classes tomorrow have been canceled. And repeating the word that we have been giving out this afternoon, San Fernando Valley State College will be closed to students and the public for 1 week.
If I may put my heart out on my sleeve for about 30 seconds, and then we'll get back to these announcements. I was standing out in the backyard of some friends of mine in Huntington Park, and I just looked skyward and said thank you, because I'm still here, and get a chance to continue this wonderful life. But I felt so insignificantly small, and thought of those 3 guys coming back from the moon, and how looking at the globe from, 100,000 miles out, the moon 250,000 miles away, this beautiful round blob sits here, and here in one little corner we had this shakeup, and here are 9 million people who all got awakened at the same instant this morning, I'm sure. Just, you feel kind of small. Bill, come in, please.
Thank you, Tom. A few moments ago, I had a chat with one of the sheriff's information officers up here at the San Fernando Hospital. We filled you in on some details, and I've now had time to walk around this scene and get a good eye view of it, and I'd like to tell you a bit about it now. It's really a tremendously tragic scene here. I've walked among the wreckage and the rubble. It looks almost as if it's a bombed-out German village from World War II. There's no power here. So these big floodlights from a California emergency organization are giving the firemen and the sheriff's people light by which they can continue their rescue efforts. They're using jackhammers to cut their way through the roofs and walls which have fallen down onto these hospital wards, and it's a very slow process. It looks like it will take at least all night. It may take even much of tomorrow. Seems to be almost an insurmountable task. So far, 14 people have been dead. And I can't help but think, as I look at it, that most of the 50 who are still inside probably did not survive. These were 3-story buildings. They collapsed all the way to the ground. The walls on the outsides fell inward toward the center of the building, so every ounce of the building fell inside on those people. A very tragic scene, and I don't imagine that the 50 people inside, too many of those will come out alive. Of course, we hope they all do, but it almost seems as if we're asking too much. These numbers, 50 people trapped inside, of course, accurate numbers are impossible because nobody has an exact count of who was where, who might have been walking around when the earthquake struck, how many employees were in which building. It's been a very meticulous thing. It will just take a long time to iron it out. But it's definitely a tragic scene here at the San Fernando Veterans Hospital up in the hills of Silmar. Of course, no one can really deserve this kind of disaster to fall upon them, but it seems that these veterans, men who have injured themselves in the service of their country and gone through quite a bit of ordeal already, it seems that these veterans perhaps deserve it even less. And below us now, because we're up on a hill overlooking the valley, most of the valley shining bright and clear in the night, except the city of San Fernando. Power blackout still in effect down there. The city of San Fernando is dark, almost in tribute to those who died up here today. This is Bill Smith, Mobile 84 clear.
Dick Spangler in Mobile 83.
So what's the situation tonight? I see we have no lights as we're looking over the broken dam area.
Well, we have a man down on the dam face itself with a radio-equipped car and a field telephone. He's a volunteer, incidentally, and he would, of course, give us the first warnings that we would need.
That's Division Fire Chief Bob Radke, and the situation is stable here as we look at the broken dam overlooking the area from the Odyssey restaurant. And from the scene, Dick Spangler, Mobile 83 clear.
Thank you, Dick, for that live report. We have been noticing the past hour several aftershocks rocking our radio station here in the San Fernando Valley.
I won't presume to tell you about my troubles, because I know you have troubles and we're all digging out. You've worked hard all day, haven't you? Trying to find glass to repair windows, trying to find drinking water, maybe even buying filters for your plumbing. And you have surveyed the damage, cracks in the chimneys. Your prized china that is no more. And you've been in contact with everyone to whom you are close. And hopefully you've been listening to KGIL, because this station is doing one hell of a job and keeping you informed just as soon as any development occurs, and they will throughout the night. Of that I can assure you. Just to be sure, I went out and bought more transistor batteries for my radio so I could stay in. Right on KGIL and Bill Smith and Southcott and Spangler and Culver and all the rest who have been keeping you informed. What we shall do is provide some background music tonight. And of course, for those of you who have lost a relative or a friend, our condolence. There really is no way to talk about the finite properties of man until something like this comes along, and then we are all made so aware of the infinitesimal wisp of smoke our lives really are. Good news about the dam. Hopefully that will hold until they can drain the balance of the water off. From KGIL 1260, news of import, broadcast throughout the night. We invite you to stay tuned. We'll give you places where you may go for protection, where you may go for food. Stay tuned. KGIL 1260.
The death toll remains indefinite, although the latest figures indicate that there have been at least 30 fatalities attributable to the quake. 9 persons are said to have suffered heart attacks. The other 21 persons were victims of the quake's physical manifestations. And our Bill Smith has been out in the field looking at some of those physical manifestations, and he's here now in the studio with us. Bill, can you talk a little bit about what you've seen today?
Howard, it's been a rather incredible day driving around the valley, checking out this earthquake scene and looking at all of the devastation. I think the saddest thing that we've seen today is up at the 2 veterans hospitals, the Olive View Hospital and then over at the San Fernando Veterans Hospital, which is in the hills above Sylmar. Those people up there really went through hell this morning at 6 o'clock. 3 of the buildings collapsed completely. They killed so far at least 14 people. There are some 50 people still inside, and as I stood there about 15 or 20 minutes ago, looking at the big, powerful emergency lights which are shining on that wreckage, it's an eerie thought to think that there are still 50 human beings beneath all that debris, and I think looking at the size of the debris, we probably won't get too many of them out alive. It's a
now, Bill,
tragic scene.
this building that you're referring to at this point is which one of the 2?
Well, this is in the San Fernando Veterans Hospital, which is a slight misnomer because the hospital's actually in Sylmar, high in the hills above Sylmar. The San Fernando Hospital. Now, I have not been over to the other hospital. Chuck Southcott was over there. He said the situation was nearly as bad at the Olive View Hospital. It will be an all-night rescue effort. They're digging. It's a very courageous thing, and I think, Howard, newsmen tend to get too matter-of-fact once in a while, and they don't allow themselves to see into the real human drama. And right now, everybody's pitching in. It's quite an emotional scene. They're all working as hard as they can. They'll be working there all night. And I noticed that in a tragedy of this sort, all of a sudden, the races seem to disappear. You don't see black people and white people and Chicanos and Orientals. You don't see that. All you see is people, and they're all working together with one common goal, and that one right now is to dig those people out from underneath that terrible wreckage. It's quite a scene.
You said earlier on the air from the scene that you expected the people who were buried, they estimate 50 there, to be fatalities rather than coming out alive. Is the building that flat?
It really is, Howard, and I think I based that assumption, and of course it's only my assessment of it, although most of the people up there are beginning to agree. I think I based that on 2 thoughts. One, most of the survivors so far, in fact, all of them have been taken from the top floor of that building. It was a 3-story building. It fell inward, all 3 floors falling on top of each other. So in that top floor, which is about all they've rescued so far, about half of those people had not survived, and I just can't imagine underneath all of those tons that the people in the 2 floors below have survived. Of course, we hope that they do. What a wonderful miracle it would be, but I can't imagine that they did.
Okay, Bill, that's a very graphic picture that you've painted for us. I wonder if there is anything else in other areas other than the hospital areas that comes to mind now?
It does. We've been, all of the newsmen here, Dick Spangler has been on the go constantly, and Chuck Southcott, Colonel Bruce put in about 10 flying hours today, and I think all of us have seen all of the areas of the valley. And I think really you notice the fact that people tend to cling together when they're in trouble, except for the looters, and that's an incredible situation. I just don't know what kind of a person it is who takes advantage of tragedy to further his own means. And the police told me that they have many people around who are attempting to loot. Of course, the police will not deal kindly with them. The policemen have said that they will not think twice about shooting people who are attempting to loot. So we hope that people will take that as a warning and not try to capitalize on this. We were over at the dam earlier, too. Spangler and I have been in and out of there. I watched that situation develop. I talked to a helicopter pilot, Bud Nelson, I believe, a fire department chopper pilot who'd been flying down low over the dam. He said when he first arrived on the scene and looked at the dam, he didn't think it would last another 20 minutes. However, they were able to pump the water out, to shore the thing up, to put some sandbags in there, and they're now confident, or at least hopeful, that they can get through the next 6 hours without the dam going.
And by that time, they should have sufficient water pumped out so that the danger will be eliminated completely.
Yeah, that's the hope. Howard, I said earlier on the air, and I think it might stand repeating, I think when the day is over, the tragedy will not be the dam, it will be the dam earthquake. And we hope that the day is over soon.
February 9th, 1971. The San Fernando Valley's longest day, as reported by KGIL.